Hello there! Today I'm going to be ranking these 11 Star Wars live-action films. In May, I've rewatched all the Star Wars films, the Skywalker Saga since May 4th, of course, Star Wars Day. So I thought it'd be time to re-rank the franchise. I have done many rankings in the past, but I've never really explained my rankings. I've just shown the poster and put a number on. So I thought today I'd actually explain the ranking, explain why these are in places. I'll try and do it as quick as I can. These can be based off a few factors, mainly my personal enjoyment with these films, how much, in my opinion, they affect or are unique inside of the franchise, and just how good of a movie they are. So let's not waste any more time. Let's crack off into my list. Before I do, though, comment down below your ranking of the Star Wars films. We all want to be friendly here, and yeah, I'd love to know your opinions on the films, and definitely put your rankings down below. Coming in at number 11, Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones is easily the weakest Star Wars film for me. This is the only Star Wars film that has big portions of I just really don't like. What they really needed to get right was Anakin's darkness. He's really struggling with his emotions. In my opinion, they really fail with the romantic storyline. They really fail with Obi-Wan's inconsistent beard. The CGI is even worse than the film before because there's a more over-reliant on it. The film looks really dated now. It's got really wooden acting, extremely bad dialogue. There's some entertaining stuff. I enjoy a lot of the action sequences. Everything on Geonosis is quite fun. I do enjoy the characters, and there's a lot less Jar Jar. But Attack of the Clones is easily the worst Star Wars film. It has big portions of it I really don't like, and it's paced in such a way you can really feel the length, as it is the second longest Star Wars film. Coming in at number 10, Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace. Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace, I sometimes go back and forth between which one I like this and Attack of the Clones. I think Attack of the Clones has more good stuff in it, but The Phantom Menace I feel is just a better, more consistent film. There are portions of it that I really don't like, and some of it which I find really boring and uneventful, really poorly written, again, pretty weak acting. But for the majority part, the CGI is very dated, but it looks more tolerable than Attack of the Clones, and that's the reason I would pick this over Attack of the Clones. I would rather sit down and watch The Phantom Menace. The Darth Maul lightsaber fight, the Duel of the Fates theme is incredible. There's a lot of really good moments, like the pod race. I do enjoy everything on Tatooine. I like Qui-Gon. I like a lot of the lines here. But, you know, just, there's a lot of things I really don't like. It's definitely a mixed bag. It's a mediocre film. These are the only two films in the Star Wars franchise. Both films have their moments. Every single Star Wars film has their really great moments, moments that give me chills and awesomeness. But these two are easily the two weakest of the Star Wars films, and the only two I don't really like. Coming in at number 9, Solo: A Star Wars Story. This 2018 Solo: A Star Wars Story sort of spin-off of the Han Solo character, I find completely unnecessary, which is why it's lower on the list. This is the only Star Wars film that feels like, why does this exist? It adds a few things to the character. I really do like Lando in the film, but I just didn't really feel that any necessary here. Still, it's a good heist movie. It's enjoyable to watch. It's well-paced. It looks visually pleasing, but it does have quite a dull color scheme. I do love the action sequences. I like what's happening. I really don't like L3. I really don't like that droid, but overall, Solo is an entertaining Star Wars film at the least, but definitely not one of the most memorable ones. Easily the most forgettable Star Wars film. Coming in at number 8 is the other standalone Star Wars film, and that is Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. Rogue One has moved it down quite a bit on my list, actually, because this is the only Star Wars film that I really don't care about any of the characters. Even Solo, I do care about Han, I care about Chewie, and Lando. I really just don't care about anything in Rogue One. I think the plot is really well structured, really well done. The first act's pacing, though, I think is really choppy. It's really slow, it's really uninvesting, because I really don't care about the characters. If I only focused on a few, then it'll be less messy, but there's so many characters in this film, and none of them get any development, and I really don't care about any of the characters, and if I don't care about the characters in this situation, then how the hell am I supposed to care about everything else going on? Still, this is a visually really exciting Star Wars film, filled with great nostalgia, but it's still able to stand alone pretty well. It's a great prequel into A New Hope, which I loved. It adds depth to the story, and I think the movie is filled with really great, epic Star Wars moments, and that final act is incredible. Just Star Wars awesomeness, puts the war into Star Wars, but unfortunately, one of the most important things for Star Wars to me is the characters, and the characters in Rogue One fell flat, which is why it's a bit lower. Still, technically, really well made. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. Easily the best of the prequels. I think this movie is actually pretty great. It hits me in the feels quite a lot of times. It has some of the prequel problems with the CGI, some of the dialogue and performances, but overall I think Revenge of the Sith is actually pretty great. I love this movie. Yes, I really do. If someone said Revenge of the Sith was their favourite Star Wars film, I wouldn't disagree. I would say, you know what, yeah, I can totally understand, because this is the story of Star Wars. This is Anakin's turn to the dark side. Some of it's handled a bit rushed, but majority part I think it's done really, really well. Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine, Ian McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, really great. Hayden Christensen's a lot better here than he is in Attack of the Clones. Revenge of the Sith's actually enjoyable, it's entertaining, it's tense, it's emotional. It's got a great score. John Williams is always going to be the best things about these movies. But Revenge of the Sith, I actually think is a pretty great prequel movie and does what it needs to do very well. It's not as amazing as it could have been, but I think it's still pretty darn good and so much better than the other two prequels. I actually really enjoy watching Revenge of the Sith. Coming in at number 6, moved down quite a bit on my list also, is going to be Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. The weakest of the original trilogy, I think, and you know, as a kid, I think this one was personally my favourite one. It's the most easy watching Star Wars film. Of course, you have Vader's redemption arc and the Palpatine, you have the Endor battle, you have the incredible space battle, you have the really great lightsaber duel, you have some tension interweaved, but I really noticed a lot of pacing problems with this movie. It is very quick, not much really happens in it, there's not much of a progression with the story. I like the characters, but there's not too much development in them. As a finale, it's pretty much the perfect finale we could have got to the original trilogy, but when you look at it after Empire Strikes Back, it does look a bit disappointing. Still, Return of the Jedi is a movie I don't really have any problems with. It's just that I think that my top 5 films in the Star Wars franchise hit me more and have more memorable things in them. Still, Return of the Jedi is excellent. Just, I feel that the other ones have far much more to them. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. This film, when I first saw it, was at number 8. When I watched it again, it was still number 8. When I watched it again, I was considering putting it in my top 3. Yeah, I moved around, but I really, really love The Rise of Skywalker now. I think this is a great finale, and people need to stop looking at the finale of the entire Skywalker films. Remember, this is a trilogy of trilogies. This is just the finale to the sequel trilogy. When you look at it as a finale to the sequel trilogy, it does a really great job. I love the characters, I love the journey this movie takes me on. It flows really nicely, has some incredible epic moments. I don't care that Palpatine comes back. I think it adds quite a lot of tension. It overarcs the all 9 films. This is easily the most gorgeous looking Star Wars film. It has a phenomenal score by John Williams. He's one of the better scores of the Star Wars franchise. Rise of Skywalker just hits me on every single emotional level that I want it to hit me, and it's basically the most Star Wars-y Star Wars film you can have. I don't know why people hate this so much, and yeah, I think it's definitely top 5 Star Wars for me. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens for me is easily the most entertaining Star Wars film. It has the plot and structure of New Hope with the pacing of The Empire Strikes Back, and that put together makes an extremely exciting, nostalgic experience. But also, I love the new characters. Rey, Finn are great characters. Poe, seeing Han Solo back, Kylo Ren is an extremely conflicted and well-done villain. The cinematography in this movie, it looks absolutely gorgeous. J.J. Abrams directs the action sequences with so much suspenseful and just flair and excitement. This movie just gives me chills all the time. It's so exciting and awesome, but it doesn't hit me on an emotional level like my number 3 does, which is why my number 3 Star Wars film is going to be Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. This is probably going to annoy every single person on the planet. I've been watching a lot of Star Wars ranking videos over the past few weeks, and pretty much every single one I've seen has had this movie at number 11, or at least like bottom 3. I think this movie is one of the greatest Star Wars films. This movie is ambitious. People beg Star Wars to do something ambitious, to be so risky, have ingenuity, have ambiguity, and that's exactly what Rian Johnson pulls off with this film. This film is an incredibly well done sci-fi film. It's not without flaws. It has pacing issues, it has a few story problems, but the characters have arcs. The characters go through so much depth here. This movie's tense, it's emotional, it makes you think. It took me many viewings to finally iterate what this film means and get its messages, and every single time I watch it I get a new message out of it, I get a new feeling out of it. It hits me really deeply on an emotional level. Luke's arc I think is probably the best arc in the entire saga. Kylo Ren's conflicted villain even more. It has some of the best action sequences in the saga, but it's not about the action. The action has more weight to it because there's messages implied within it. I think The Last Jedi is a near masterpiece, and I think it's an incredible film. Coming in at number 2 is going to be the original Star Wars. This is easily a filmmaking masterpiece. Lucas's imagination and creativity with this film has impacted filmmaking so much. I don't know where films would be today without this film, and it's definitely had an impact, and without this film there will be no this franchise. But seriously, this movie is extremely exciting. On every watch I enjoy New Hope even more, which is crazy. I absolutely adore this film, and it's actually, even though I think it's the shortest Star Wars film, it feels like it's the longest one because it's so investing and immersive. It's truly amazing. I love the characters. I love the journey this movie takes me on. It's still one of the best Star Wars films to date. It doesn't hit me as much on an emotional level as some of the other ones do, like the sequel films and Revenge of the Sith, but it's a classic today for a reason, because it's been so impactful, And yeah, it's one of the most fun Star Wars films. Coming in at number 1 though is easily the best Star Wars film of all time, and that is The Empire Strikes Back. This film is the best sequel they ever could have made to A New Hope. It takes the characters to much darker levels. They could have done a really bland sequel, just another space adventure, but they take these characters to such darker and deeper themes. This movie has such great ingenuity put behind it. It's easily the best directed Star Wars film, has the best score, the best cinematography. I think the entire reveal is done extremely well, and just this movie, man, it has the greatest twist in cinema history. It's not just the best Star Wars film, it is in the list of best films ever crafted. The Empire Strikes Back, there's no point me explaining why it's the best Star Wars film, because it is. I would love to know your opinions. What's your favourite Star Wars films? Rank them down below. But that's my personal ranking. This is not ranking on what the best films are in the saga. That would be a completely different list. But that's just my personal enjoyment, how much feelings I get out of these movies. And I love the Star Wars franchise. It's impacted me a lot, and I love talking about it. And yeah, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always.